Welcome to Preheat 360 Cooking in VR, Episode 2. Ready? Let's go. Okay, now it's time to get started. Now, I have my pork butt, okay? Now, the guy said there was no bone in it. Obviously, you see a big bone right here. So, I am going to separate it. It's no big deal. Be very careful when you're cutting. Children, get your parents' permission. All of those wonderful disclaimers. Now, I'm going to slice right around the bone. Usually, I like to wear plastic gloves. We're out of plastic gloves, so I have to use my hands. Make sure your hands are clean at first. I just washed my hands before I started this. And here we go. Now, I'm trying to slice it away clean. As you see, we keep it real here at Preheat 360, so the cut is not going to look as perfect as the video, but trust me, the outcome will be the same. Trying to cut around the bone. As you see, and I'm going to pull away the pieces. It'll look like big cubes, and then I will slice those cubes like they did in the video. So just bear with me. Slicing away. And this other huge part. We don't want anything to go to waste. There's some of the fat. You can also trim the fat also. Okay. Now there's some meat there that might go to waste. That is okay. I have a big piece. I got about a 4-pound cut. It was bigger than I expected, so that's fine. This piece I'm going to discard. I know some of you say that's a waste. It's okay. We'll be all right. Now, each of my pieces I'm going to slice diagonally, just one time each way, just so we get that look like in the video where it's like little cubes. It looks like a net almost, and you can just pull it. You can just slice it nicely. It has a nice look. I'm not cutting all the way through, as you see. It's still together. I'm just slicing on an angle. I will hold it up for you in a moment. These are the little cubes I just cut away. Be very careful. You do not want to cut yourself. The knife is obviously very sharp. I know some people want to cut the fat away. I'm going to leave the fat because the veggies, the asparagus, and the potatoes will cook in that fat. So I'm going to leave that. If you want to cut it, it's not the end of the world. As I get closer to my thumb, I'm just being very careful, going slower. There's no need to rush. That's how people end up cutting themselves, slicing, and not paying attention to what they're doing. Now that I cut on the diagonal, I'm going to turn the pork. I'm going to cut on another diagonal. Cut across the lines you just made. Just one slice. Be very careful, especially if your finger is closer to the blade. One slice across. Not cutting through. One slice across. All the way down. Don't go too hard. Don't put too much pressure because then you'll slip and you'll cut yourself. Just one nice slice across. A little bit of pressure. Some people may prefer to poke holes throughout. You could do that as well. Still making a nice slice. The part here with the fat, I'm going to go back and forth a little bit. I'm not going to carve all the way through, but just to cut through some of that skin, some of that fat, just cut back and forth a little bit. While the whole time you're still being very careful. Okay? You see our cuts? They have that cube look. They look like they're diced, they're cubed, but they're not separate. It's one big piece. Same here with some of the fat, okay? I could cut across that a little more. I'm going to leave that fat. It's going to cook in there. I know some of the health nuts, if you happen to be a health nut and you're watching a slow roasted pork video, you'll probably want to cut away some of the fat. Is it the end of the world? No. Am I going to cut it? No, I'm not. I'm going to leave it so the veggies and the sauce and everything mixes together nicely. Okay, so we have our cut nice and cubed. Now we're going to make our marinade. This recipe requires a marinade for 1 hour. I am actually going to let it marinate for a few hours. Right now it is 12 o'clock. I'm probably not going to really cook in real time until about 4 o'clock. In this video, I'm going to be cooking in like 2 minutes. All right. Okay, the second part of this video now consists of chopping up our... We have a 1/4 cup of chopped scallions. They're not chopped, I'm going to chop them. A 1/4 cup, I'm just going to do it by eye. I feel like maybe this much could be about a 1/4 cup. I'm going to chop it like that. Nice little slice. Okay, they were washed. I just got them fresh from the supermarket. Rinsed them off. So our cutting board I had to wash off because I just chopped the meat on it. You do not want to chop fresh veggies where you chop your meat. You don't want any kind of disease or sickness or bacteria. So please be careful, wash everything off. Here's our 1/4 cup of chopped scallions. Am I going to chop them now? Absolutely not. We have about 3 tablespoons of chopped garlic. I have some fresh garlic right here. Once again, I'm going to eye it up. I'll take maybe a bulb out of here. Something like that. That might be about 3 tablespoons, okay? I will take that. Am I going to chop it up now? Absolutely not. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do in a moment. Put that back in the fridge. Of course, we need to peel it. So peel it. Now, what I'm going to use, as you can see, this wonderful, wonderful invention next to me here, the NutriBullet. This will be where we'll do all of our chopping. In the video, you see them chop it by hand. You see the scallions and the garlic kind of sitting on top of the meat. I want it actually like all part of the marinade. I want it to all just go right through, permeate right through all of the meat. I feel like it will give it more flavor. We have our soy sauce. Calls for 1 cup of soy sauce. The recipe actually calls for a separate 2 tablespoons to be separated from this 1 cup. I will show you that later. By the way, all the directions will be right here in the description. The link to the video I just showed you will be right there in the description. This is taking a long time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to pop off this plastic piece right here. Bear with me. Even though that's a butter knife, if you do the same thing, be safe. There we go, much better. 1 cup of soy sauce. I used less sodium soy sauce. You can use any kind of soy sauce you want. Also, I learned that teriyaki sauce is not a bad substitute. Mix in, well, see, what happened to me is I had about 1/2 cup of soy sauce. So I substituted the other half with teriyaki sauce. It gave it a very nice flavor. So now, we have our 3 tablespoons of garlic. Our 1/4 cup of scallions, all done by eye. Is it exact measurement? Is it an exact science? No, it is not. We have our 1 cup of soy sauce. We have our 1/2 cup of granulated sugar. This is we have our 1/4 cup of granulated sugar. This is a 1/2 cup. 1/2 of a 1/2 is a 1/4. So I filled it halfway, as you can see right there. We are going to throw everything right here in our NutriBullet. Have our scallions. We have our garlic. We have our sugar. And of course, we have our soy sauce. It's all gonna mix in there nicely. Can you chop it up by hand if you don't have a NutriBullet? Absolutely. Like I said, I want to put it in the NutriBullet because I want it to all be basically liquefied and permeate through the entire cut. I feel like that'll be better. Shake it around a little bit. All right. Gonna move our cup here. Gonna unplug our NutriBullet because God forbid you don't want to accidentally put your hand there or anywhere if this thing is plugged in and it starts chopping. Shake it up a little more. Open it up. Let a little bit drip right there. Doesn't smell great. Doesn't smell bad, it's just, you know, it's marinade. Has that very soy teriyaki type of smell, even though I put soy sauce in there. Looks like that. Doesn't look good to drink, so obviously do not drink it. But the finished product is going to be spectacular. We have our cut. When I turned the video off, I actually cut up a little more because the recipe calls for about 2 to 3 pounds of the pork shoulder. Like I said, we used pork butt. Everything's cut up, almost separated, not fully separated. See, I sliced right through it nicely. And I'm going to put our marinade on there. It has like a mustard type of color. That came from the scallions. You're going to mix it all in nicely. It's very nice and liquefied. It's not thick. It looks sudsy. It's not thick. Just mix it all in. Mix it all in. This is where I like to have gloves. Obviously, I ran out of the plastic gloves. The rubber gloves, I mean. But that's fine. If you have rubber gloves, it's always the best thing. Don't have to keep washing your hands. Just take it off, get a new pair of gloves. That's fine. Just like that. Okay? Recipe calls for 1 hour marinade. I'm going to let it sit there for about 3 hours, and then we're going to come back and we're going to get to work. All right, here is our pork, nice and covered. I'm going to put it in the refrigerator. I just wanted to add that it says 1 hour to marinate. I would strongly suggest, if you're going to follow the 1 hour timetable, 30 minutes in, unwrap it, take it out the fridge, turn it around. We got to get everything covered in marinade. So flip it around, turn it over a little bit, then put it back in for another half hour. I said I'm going to let it marinate for about 3 to 4 hours. So about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. I'm going to open it up, turn it around, let it sit for another 2 hours. We want the entire cut, all pieces, to be fully marinated. We want the marinade to permeate through each piece, so it's good to turn it over. And that goes for anything you're marinating, whether it's wings, steak, pork, it doesn't matter. Okay, you should always open it up, turn it over after a while, okay? All right, I'll show you the turnover part, and so I'll see you in about an hour. All right, the meat has been marinating for over an hour, so now it's time to take it out and turn it over to make sure all of it is covered. Make sure the marinade gets through every part of the pork before we put it in the oven. So I'm going to uncover it like this. Let me take a look and see. I'm going to turn it over. You can see the meat is darker now that the marinade has permeated the meat. It's gotten through to most of it. We just want to turn over these pieces that were on top to make sure everything is covered. Let's just do it like that. And then try to push it down. You want to submerge as much of the meat under the marinade as you can, so it can all be covered and you'll get the most flavor out of it. All right, we're going to cover this back up, and in another hour, we're going to put it in the oven. Now the pork is almost fully marinated. While that's going to sit in the fridge for another 20 minutes, I'm going to cut up the vegetables. So I have my potatoes here and I have my asparagus here. I'm going to dice the potatoes into small pieces. You can cut them into any size you want, but remember it has to fit on the pan with the pork and the asparagus. And you want the juices from the pork to seep into the potatoes and the asparagus. So I think the smaller pieces that you cut, the better it will soak in. All right, so here we go. While the pork is slow roasting in the oven, it's a good time now to make the marinade, the glaze. You have to have a half a cup of honey. Spoon that into the bowl just like this. You have 1 cup of packed dark brown sugar. If you have light brown sugar, it'll probably work too, but the ingredients call for 1 cup of dark brown sugar. Mix that in like that. Scoop out as much honey as you can. Then it calls for 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. Now, I like to add the teriyaki sauce. I think it gives it a little extra flavor. And really, I do about 3 or 4 capfuls, just like that. And a little bit of teriyaki sauce. Now you can stir it around with the spoon. I like to use this mixer. This is perfect for a situation like this. Take our spoon out. The glaze is very thick. That's why I like to use this this mixer like that, because otherwise you gotta really stir it hard with the spoon. And I don't think it'll come out perfect. This makes it come out perfect. It gets all of that brown sugar mixed into the honey. It's perfect. And it has a good consistency. The brown sugar is not all chunky in there as if you did it with a spoon. And after an hour and a half, we can go ahead and glaze that over the pork. Turn the temperature up to 500 degrees and wait 30 minutes. And we'll have our perfect meal. In an hour and a half, we have our pork right here. Took it fresh out of the oven. We have our potatoes and our asparagus. They're almost fully cooked. Get a good look at the pork. Smell that? It smells good. You know what's going to make it even better? Our glaze. Now, I forgot to mention earlier, you could have left the glaze on the table because with the honey, if you put it in the fridge, it's going to be even harder to pour. If you accidentally put it in the fridge, or not even accident, if you just prefer to put it in the fridge, that's fine. I would suggest put it in the microwave for about 30 seconds to loosen it up. I left mine at room temperature. I'm going to just pour the glaze on like this with a spoon. Just kind of get it all here. And then when it cooks up, it's going to be nice. Come out just like the video. Now we want to fully cover the pork. We're going to put it in here in the oven for about another 20 to 30 minutes with the glaze. You see the sauce is all in the pan. It's all in the potatoes. It's all in the asparagus. It all adds flavor. And now with our glaze, that's going to get on the potatoes and the asparagus as well. If you're on a diet, this may not be the best thing because there's a lot of sugar in this glaze. All right. There we go. We have the glaze on it. We're about to put it right back in the oven. See, it's fully covered in the glaze. And here we are, our finished product. It's been an extra 30 minutes since I put the glaze on. We can see three, two, one. And here we are, our finished product. Now, I put the glaze on and put it back in the oven for 30 minutes. You can see the color's a little different from the video. I think it's darker because I blended up the scallions and the garlic and the soy sauce. So the marinade was darker. It made the meat darker. That's why our finished product is a little darker. You see the juices. The potatoes are all in the juices. The asparagus are in the juices. So now the only thing we have to do is slice it up, see what it looks like, see what it tastes like. Let's find out. And here we are, a closer look at the finished product. See the different colors, see it's darker. As I said, that's from the marinade that I had used, was a little darker. So therefore the meat is darker, but it is glazed, it is slow roasted. Let's cut it, take a look. Let's get this piece right here. First of all, it's very tender. I just don't want to knock any off the table, but oh, it's very soft, very tender. And there we go. Now let's try it. Oh yeah, that is perfect. Final step. Final step. We're gonna plate it up, show you the finished product, and then you can try it yourself. Finished product. You see the roast pork, asparagus that's soaked in the juices and the marinade, and the potatoes that was soaked in the pork juices and the marinade. So now it's your finished product. I hope you try this at home. If you have any feedback, please leave it in the comment section. If you have any suggestions on what you want me to try to cook next, please leave it in the comment section. Anyway, there you go. There you have it. Preheat 360, slow roasted pork shoulder, but we use pork butt. Slow roasted pork, honey glazed, with asparagus and potatoes. See you next time.